Hi everybody, this is Just One Christian Lady. We are studying the Gospel of John 5-ish minutes at a time, and this is episode 10. Okay, we are on our last episode for chapter 2. We're starting in verse 23, but I want to point out what has just happened in the prior verses in chapter 2. First, we saw Jesus' first miracle, where he turned the water into wine. And John points out that this was how he revealed his glory to the disciples, and they believed in him because I guess he assured them of who he was through the miracle that he performed in a fairly private manner. And then next, Jesus demonstrates the scripture in Psalm 69:9 that says, "Zeal for your house will devour me," when he formed a whip from cords and drove out the merchants from the temple. And he said, "Don't turn my house into a marketplace." I think there's another place that describes a similar scene, and he says it's a den of thieves. So he was demonstrating that he had authority, that he believed he had authority to say what should happen in the temple. So when we go on to verse 23, it says, "Now while Jesus was in Jerusalem," so he's in Jerusalem because of the Passover feast, and we already know that from the previous verses. "Now while Jesus was in Jerusalem at the feast of the Passover, many people believed in his name because they saw the miraculous signs he was doing." So apparently there are other miraculous signs going on during the feast that we don't know about, that were more public to the general people who were there. It says, many people believed in his name because they saw the miraculous signs he was doing. But Jesus would not entrust himself to them because he knew all people. He did not need anyone to testify about man, for he already knew what was in man. I think I added some words there. It says, "For he knew what was in man." This is kind of a mournful and also a reassuring, very small piece of scripture right here. Jesus has demonstrated in the previous paragraphs, he is demonstrating who he is and why the disciples and the people should believe in him. And that is testimony. They have testimony of who he is. But then it says he didn't need anyone to testify about man because he knew what was in man. And we know that because Jesus knows what is in mankind, that we are bound to sin, and without Jesus, we are attracted to evil, and we want the things that are not of God until his spirit comes inside of us and we put our faith in Jesus. I think it's a mournful scripture because Jesus said he wouldn't trust himself to these people. He knows these people. He knows what's inside of them, but it's also reassuring because Jesus knows what's inside of me, and yet he still came to die for each one of us. That's obviously, I'm giving a spoiler, but I don't think you're here because you're not familiar with the Bible at all. Jesus came to die for us and pay the debt for our sin so that we could be one with the creator of the universe, so that we could be part of his family. And so Jesus knew all that. It says it right here. While we're establishing who Jesus is, we also establish that he knows who we are. He's not fooled. He doesn't think anything crazy about us, that we're going to figure it all out and snap to. He knows who we are, and that's why he came with a solution for that. So this is Just One Christian Lady, and that is the end of chapter 2. Next time, we'll get started on chapter 3, and we'll get to witness Jesus and his conversation with Nicodemus when he explains something that we all need to know about and why we need to be born again. Have a great night, y'all.